personally spend about $30,000 a month on ads, so I know how to judge an ad by its metrics. And so in this video, I want to walk you through how you can do it. So that way you know when to kill an ad, when to scale it, and what's actually working. So that's what I'll talk through. I'm going to dive into a number of things. So first, I'm going to go through ad anatomy, which is specifically how we psychologically view an ad and what metrics correlate to what part of an ad. So I'll go through the leading metrics. I'll go through the, oh goodness, there we go. Leading metrics, I'll go through lagging metrics. I'll also go through order of operations, my spend rules, the two campaign method I learned from Hernan Vasquez. Hopefully I pronounced that right. And then my scaling rules. So let's talk about the anatomy of an ad. So when we look at an ad here, and let me move my big head out of the way. So when we look at the anatomy of an ad, there is an order in which we mentally process this ad. So this ad is it looks a little funny because of how I pulled it from the ad library, but normally this reel is obviously in much better proportion. The first thing that we do when we view an ad is, as we're scrolling, the number one thing that we hit is the image or video. And that's massive. Let's jump this down. So number one thing we hit is the image or video. That's also big, whatever. So we're scrolling, ad comes across our screen, image or video, does it stop the scroll? Hey, if it's an image, does what is on the image catch our attention? If it's a video, does the first 3 to 5 seconds or the hook catch our attention? If it does, we immediately jump down to the headline. So we'll read the headline before jumping up to the body copy. Now, normally the body copy is like it's folded up. And so we usually only see like the leading line with like the few dots and then the see more button. So we jump down to headline, we'll jump up, we might read the body copy before jumping down to to learn more. And I did a full, like another video breaking down this entire psychology in this process. You can go check that out. But I wanted to refresh on this because the metrics correlate directly to this. So these are our metrics. Our click-through rate all correlates directly to the image or video. I typically want this to be greater than 2%, although I really like it above 3%. Okay, so that's our image or video. And basically out of 1,000 impressions, that's saying that 2% of people are stopping and actually looking at the image or video. Okay, click-through rate link. I like this to be above 1%. Hey, that is the amount of people that either click see more or click learn more. So it's the click-through rate on the link or button. And then we've got our conversion rate, which depending on if you're running a lead form or landing page, this might vary. I like this between 10 and 20% on a lead form. And then I'll just put it there, lead form. And then if it's a landing page, depending on like the layout of the landing page and how it's actually structured, because it might be a very simple opt-in, it might be a VSL. It depends. It's going to vary, but typically that's between 10 and 35%. Okay. If it's a super simple like opt-in page, like headline, subheadline, and only a like opt-in button, a lot of times we want that a lot higher, but that'll give you a good starting point. And then cost per lead is it's subjective. It's going to be based off of the industry, the niche, the offer. And it's also, which I'll talk about here in just a minute, it's also a lagging metric. So I was going to highlight these. Not going to let me highlight them individually without, okay, whatever. So it's a lagging metric. So we've got our click-through rate all, which is going to be specifically, let me get this here without looking elderly on my technology. So this is our click-through rate all. Okay. This is our click-through rate link. And it's a little bit of a combination of both, where it's like the offer and how the offer is perceived and how much interest there is in that before they actually click the button. And then conversion rate, again, landing page, lead form, and then cost per lead is subjective. So when we talk about over here, leading metrics, lagging metrics, when we talk about order of operations, think back to like grade school. Okay. And in grade school in math, there's the order of operations called PEMDAS, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, adding, subtracting. Hopefully I got that right. My teachers would be proud. Um, and so basically, you can't start at the end and focus on the end metrics, meaning on our process here, these are the order of operations. When we look at an ad, we look at our click-through rate all, we look at our click-through rate link, then we look at our conversion rate, and then our cost per lead, cost per purchase, cost per book call, because these right here, these, okay, and then these are really our lagging metrics, okay? And conversion rate is a little bit of a leading metric, but not as much. It's a little bit in between. So for example, so let's say this is at a 2.1%, and forgive me, I'm drawing with a mouse. 1.6%, 7%, that's a 7 out of 9. And let's say our cost per lead. Okay, terrible drawing, you get the idea. So 2.1%, okay, yes, that's above KPI, above 1% on our click-through rate link. And then our conversion rate is a little bit low, 7%. So what this could mean, as I'm looking at how to judge an ad by its metrics, is, okay, the ad is stopping the scroll. People are interested in the offer because the click-through rate is high, but the conversion rate is low. So what that could mean is that what is said on the ad maybe isn't fully congruent with what's on the landing page or lead form. Meaning, and I see this all the time, which is you'll have an offer on the lead or on the ad, and what is expressed or said on the landing page isn't fully congruent with the offer. And you'll be like, you'll think that's silly, but I see it all the time. And you'll see this if you just start clicking on ads all the time, like I do, because I'm an ad junkie, which is, okay, they offer XYZ on the ad, and we get to the landing page and they're only offering X and Y, for a bad analogy. And there's not congruency, meaning the reason that they clicked on the ad was for whatever was said in the ad. And so we better dang make sure that whatever's on the ad is also on the landing page. That's why you'll see a lot of times, like, the image that's on the ad is also what's on the landing page. Okay. So that's just, again, little example there on how those work. So that's how you judge an ad by its metric there. Now, in terms of my spend rules, so what I like to do is I like to let an ad spend about, got ahead of myself, 1.5 to 2x my ideal KPI or my desired KPI. So let's say, for example, I want to book calls at $150 or less, so less than $150. That means I would let an ad, a particular ad, spend about $225 to $300 before I judge if it's within that KPI, granted that these metrics here look good. Okay. So what that means is, okay, let's say I want to get a cost per purchase of $30. Well, I'm going to let an ad spend about $45 to $60 before I determine if it's working or not. Okay. Anything before that is we haven't given it enough spend to actually judge if it's working. So that's my spend rule. The 2-campaign method, which I will show you here in just a sec. I learned this from Hernan Vasquez. Again, hopefully I pronounced that name right. What you got to understand right now is within the last year, Facebook's made their big update to Andromeda. They now require a lot more creative, meaning it takes a lot more images, a lot more videos with different hooks, variations, basically variety and diversity in how you're presenting your offer and who you're talking to, because it places ads at an individual level now. It's no longer, hey, this is like a group of people that like real estate, so this ad is probably relevant to this group. It's, this ad is relevant to this person, and this ad is relevant to this person. It's on a user by user level, person to person. Okay. So the 2-campaign method is essentially where we have a, throw this in here. We've got a testing campaign and we've got a scaling campaign. And I'll jump into my ad account here in just a sec and show you what this looks like. But essentially what we're trying to do is in the testing campaign, this is an ABO, ad set budget optimization. Sorry, I can't multitask. Got to get back to my pen here. So let's say we've got our campaign, and then we've got an ad set. I could be an artist. Ad set there. And then we've got like our different, ads here on this. You get the idea. It's a wonderful drawing. I should stick to whiteboards. So we've got our campaign, we've got our ad set, and then multiple ads, which I'll just draw these out because that looks better. There we go. Wow, making this even better. So ABO, and that's because we are going to launch these about every week. So I like to test 5 to 10 new images and 5 to 10 new videos every single week in a new ad set. And I usually put about 3 to 5 ads per ad set. And then I let each ad spend about 1.5 to 2x my target cost per acquisition, cost per lead, cost per purchase. And then if it's hitting that target, then I will take the Facebook post ID and I will move it into a scaling campaign, which is the campaign. We have one ad set, and then we've got multiple ads within that. And this is the Advantage Plus. And this is to all warm audiences. Our testing campaign is specifically to cold audiences. The reason we do that is because if an ad is going to work to a cold audience, it will sure as heck going to work to our warm audience. And so again, the whole goal on this is to just find winning creatives that we can then put into a new scaling campaign, which I then increase the budget about 20% every 48 hours. And you'll hear mixed thoughts on this. Like people say, don't do this. People say, you don't need to do that anymore. This is what I have found to have worked in my ad account and my clients' ad accounts, which is a lot of times you want to spend and jump the spend quicker, faster. And anytime I've done that, our CPMs, our cost per lead as well, jumps very quickly. And so I'd rather just gradually like increase the spend without trying to kill the campaign. And so I'm not in any hurry, just 20% every few days. Sometimes I'll let it level off for a week before I increase it again. But I'm not huge on jumping the budget super quick. Because again, once we've found winners, we know the winners are going to work. And so it's just a matter of scaling it in an efficient manner. So I'll jump into my ad account and show you just one of the offers that I'm running right now on this testing scaling campaign. And we'll just walk through some ads on how to actually judge it on by its metrics. All right, so I've got a couple of campaigns going. I won't dive into all of them, but here is my creative testing campaign. So you can see I've been running this for a couple months on this new campaign for this particular offer. And so you can see just about every week, and I'm not perfect. I do need to launch some ads. So yes, this is holding me accountable, which is I will launch a new campaign. Now, this is a low ticket offer. This is specifically for purchases. The structure is the exact same for all of the call funnels that I run and all of the lead funnels. So it does not change. It does not matter. So every week I'm essentially launching a new campaign. Let me move this. There we go. And so you can see on this particular, these are the ad sets, ABO. Each ad set is about $100, $120 a day. For this April 30th testing campaign for this particular offer, I've got about 10 ads in here. I've now since started launching less ads in an ad set. I usually like to do 3 to 5 so that it actually gives each ad a fair shot on getting some spend behind it. But we can see, okay, for the last 30 days, 36 purchases at $44, 20 at 52. And we can see there's some in here that I've turned off because over the last, let's go 7 days, see where that's at. Yeah, so last 7 days, like this particular image, 4 purchases, $112. And so it spent more than 1.5 to 2x my target purchase cost. So my target purchase cost is like typically under $45, just depending on how much ROAS I want. And so we can see that, okay, my click-through rate all is above 2%. My click-through rate link is above 1%. And then when I go to my actual landing page, my landing page is converting at a certain percentage there, which I don't have in front of me. But we can see here, I turned that off because it didn't continue to purchase within what I needed there. If I jump back to, let's do another example where I started putting less in here. So we can see this one spent $207, so way above the amount. That's just because I wasn't on top of it. And then amount spent on this one, $489, 15 purchases, $32. So that's a winner. And so in this case, this is one where I would take this I would click Facebook post with comments. I would take this post ID and that would go into a scaling campaign. So that would come over into scaling campaign, and then you would use existing post, put the post ID in there. So here's this one. You can see I've turned a bunch of these off because they are not performing within KPI. So anyways, so that is essentially how you judge an ad by its metrics, which is this order of operations. And you really just have to get used to understanding the psychology of how people are viewing ads. And once you understand that and the metrics that it correlates to, it's a very clear indicator as to what part of the ad is or isn't working relative to its metric. So that's how that works. If you like this video, subscribe and consider checking out some video that's going to pop up here that YouTube recommends.